So with Lab 8, we want to configure Active Directory. We want to join a domain, or ESXi host is joined to the domain. We can use single sign-on. We still have to type for admin 5A and pass 1, 2, 3, 4 to get into it on the login screen. The vCenter server has a driver that you can install into Windows, Linux, and Mac. That when you bring up the web page, you no longer have to use your Windows credentials. If you're already logged into Windows with Windows credentials, it's single sign-on. There'll be a checkbox. You check it and click login. You don't have to type passwords or anything. It's really nice. Although it's a little bit of a pain to get set up. Maybe one of the videos like, hey, I need to take this link with me in the future to read about it or view the process. Letting you know now when I post this video, it might be something you want to keep in your, this is cool info I may need on the job someday. Joining a vCenter server to the vClass local, we have csnt.edu. That's our Active Directory domain. So we're going to join our VC number into the csnt.edu domain. Identity source, meaning how are you going to identify user accounts? Microsoft Active Directory domain controller is going to be the identity source. VMware is not going to house the usernames and passwords. You don't need two separate databases of usernames and passwords of the company. Most all companies have Active Directory, so that's what we're going to use. If, they don't talk about it in here, but they do have a NIS, a Unix domain credentials. You could use them as an identity source. So obscure, I doubt you're going to run into that, but that would be a possibility, and you would have to research that on your own and get that connected in. There's more documentation with Microsoft just because it's widely deployed. So we've logged in. That's step one. Everybody can do, get to the point of joining the domain, but we'll get to the point where student A is going to complete out. So we want to go to administration. We want to find a single sign-on section and click configure. So I guess really only one person, actually both of y'all can get to that point. But once you get to configuration and you're looking at that screen, that's when one of you needs to stop. Who's going to continue on and join to the network? So who was that? Okay, Colby is going to do it for his group. So I'm going to use him as the demonstration screen. So Colby hit menu at the top and he clicked administration and he scrolled down and found single sign-on in the configuration option. When you click on identity provider, you have several different identity sources. There's a section here for Active Directory domain. And it states now it's not connected anywhere. What domain are we in? csnt.edu. We don't care about adding into an organizational unit. The Active Directory username, though, is not vSphere. That would be your admin account, admin, what are 6A, because he's group 6 at, and actually you don't need the @ symbol because you're already specifying the domain up in the top. So you only need admin number and your letter. And then we have our pass 1, 2, 3, 4. Pass 1, 2, 3, 4. No bang at the end. Our Windows credentials didn't require a bang, so just the 8 characters. PASS 1, 2, 3, 4, capital P. I believe you could have probably went ahead and put at csnt.edu. It probably wouldn't have broken anything, but it's not required. It also reboot the node to apply changes. So you see the little blue area right there. So go ahead and click on join. And we'll have it spin for a while. One person in your group will have to do the join because it's one machine that you're both logged into. You can only join it once. So after a while, node VC6 has joined the Active Directory domain successfully. Reboot. So now we're in a warning state. Reboot the node to apply changes. Okay, now to reboot the node, on the left side, if you scroll down, far left, this version's different. Go back to home. I guess host and clusters. So your VC6 up there, I believe in this version, you can just right click on it. That's not where we go. Let me go look. They're probably telling instructions. They changed, they moved it around. It used to be over under administration. From the actions drop-down menu, in the top right corner, select reboots. So is that from administration? Not seeing a reboot. Configuration. Where's the reboot? Where did they move it to in this version? I'm not rebooting ESX. We're working on the vCenter. I found it, I think. There's actions. Where's my reboot? Highlighted on hosts and clusters. Should be reboot.
Administration under deployment system.
That broke up.
Yeah, and administration and system configuration, there's a reboot node.
Where's this global client system config? That's what I was looking for. But they had this at the bottom of the screen on 6. They moved it. So it was still under administration. They just moved the order. They do that. Microsoft does the same thing. So menu administration, system config, and click reboot node. That will take a good 15 minutes for the thing to reboot, probably. Maybe a little bit short. 7.0, I think reboots faster than 6.0. 6.0 took a very extended amount of time to restart the system and come back up. Well, probably want to wait till about 9:30, and then as we come try to log in, we'll get some weird screens. It'll have like login issues for a while. You just start refreshing the screen every wait 10 minutes and start refreshing every 5 minutes after that. See when it comes back up. So I think you did have to type in something, be able to get at least one character, be able to hit the reboot. A lot of y'all probably seen this screen here. So type a character and hit reboot. In a few minutes after your partner reboots the machine, your browser should do that. Error, connection refused. I didn't have to type the username and password. I've got a vCenter server. It's running the csnt.edu domain and everything, hosting all of these machines. So we'll just kind of go, what was the one? Colby, which one were you?
6.
You were 6. We'll just keep you as the guinea pig. So ESXi hosts are still up and running. The virtual machines and stuff on them did not go down. That's one cool thing. Rebooting the vCenter server does not affect the ESXi host or the running virtual machines on it. So you can patch, you can shut down, you can upgrade and stuff in your data center. You know, the web servers, your point of sale servers and things like that for the cash registers of all the Dollar General stores across the country, they're still working. You're working on your vCenter server. So that's a good plus. When you're rebooting your ESXi host, that's where you can run into issues because that's the system that's running the virtual machines. So the vCenter server is just the controller. Now, as you see, VC6 looks like that it has come up. But if you try to go to the website, it's probably still stating that the inventory services and other things are trying to boot. So I would not try to load the website for another 8 minutes or so. Yeah, there's no healthy upstreams. No point in trying to reload or anything like that because it's needing to start all those other services. Oh Lordy, it went completely black. It died. No, screensaver. A really important key combination to remember with VMware. Your mouse can get stuck inside the window if VMware Tools doesn't have a mouse driver loaded. I think this one does. I think I can, no, it doesn't. You see what it says? Press Control Alt. The left Control Alt on the keyboard. I don't know that. Let me check. The right Control Alt, does that work now? Yeah, okay. Right Control Alt, the back in 5, 4, and 5 version, that used to not work. It was reserved for something else. You did Control Alt Insert, I think. Control Alt Insert sent the Control Alt Delete to the virtual machine. Well, let's try. we said the left Alt key and the right Control key. Let's try it in reverse. The right Control key and the left Alt, it does seem to work. So they've removed the knowledge of which left and right of the space bar that you were using, so that's cool. And now read them both as the same. That looks like that probably came around 6.0 is probably when that came around. But I'm not played around with it. I was stuck at always just using the left Control Alt key and didn't try anything else when the new versions came out. It probably starts a war with Russia and Ukraine. Oh no, let's go check.
Will it ask you if you want to play a game? Start moving chess pieces. Feeling it there one
Jeremiah thinks he broke something.
Yeah, but they.
So if you close your installer out, Jeremiah, then you have to go back to the 480. Okay, you can have your mouse back, Jeremiah. Hopefully we clicked on the setup. Enable your SSH. Oh, Kobe, look, we've got an error. CPU usage. That's common when startup. Got to start all the databases up. So one thing I can do here is I can monitor his processor in real time. When it starts trending down is when the web interface will likely be available. Some of you will even start getting the login prompt, but if you try to log in, you'll still get a error. So nobody should probably log in at this point in time or even attempt. Give it some more time. And they are all working on startup. put some notes on the board. Pretty much. Lots of companies do. Black Windows, there's a set of patches that come down once or twice a month. Keep everything patched and updated and snapshots and all, because there's a pretty massive amount of things to check and monitor and backups. And now you've normally become the backup person for everything too. It's easier to back up. We don't have server admins backing up their servers anymore. Yeah, the virtualization admin doing all the backups, site recovery, disaster recovery scenarios. Falls under their umbrella now. And admins normally get paid pretty good. I think even here in Arkansas, you're looking at a $90,000 to $120,000 a year salary.
That kind of job, what kind of credentials would you say?
Having experience,
About it.
having a certification that this class allows you to take, the VMware Certified Data Center, VMware Professional Data Center Virtualization exam. Definitely be a good one to get. I know I don't remember how long UAMS had a job opening for VMware admin. I couldn't find anybody. Like 2017, 2018, and it was still up there for almost like a year later. They were still trying to find somebody. I don't know if they've ever found anybody. They have to have been hiring people from outside to help maintain it. But one student graduated, he went on to get a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and learned a voice over IP phone system. And I can't remember, Hewlett Packard or Axiom picked him up, and then Hewlett Packard headhunted him with a $10,000 or $20,000 a year raise. And so he went over to them, and then Children's Hospital headhunted him for a $20,000 a year raise. So he went over to them, and then he got trained on something called Workday. We learned Workday at Children's, and then this other company headed him, and I was working at this other company and still part-timing at Children's because he feels like I guess he got a heart in helping Children's Hospital. Now he's working at two places. Probably making close to $200,000 a year. His name is Brad. Ask him who's the awesome instructor at DB. She wasn't here when he came through. Okay. You should probably be able to log in now. Maybe, let me go look. We've been, so yeah, I hadn't been watching. No, CPU usage dropped. That probably means the login screen's ready. No. Yep. So we've joined the domain. Now we need to create the trust relationship. Between the two domains. The device is like, right now when the Active Directory domain is trusting the VC, whatever, the Linux kernel, but it's not trusting the vSphere.local Active Directory domain simulation that's running. There's still two processes here. There's actual Linux kernel, the Photon OS is now joined to the domain, and that will give us the ability to see the csnt.edu users and groups and add it, adding it as an identity source, which in the Microsoft classes and world would be adding a transitive trust relationship or a one-way trust relationship between the two domains. Right now, we'll be just adding a one-way trust because we don't care for to have the local accounts in vSphere.local domain in Microsoft. All we want is to trust, vSphere.local needs to trust Microsoft's accounts. And Microsoft needs to be aware that there's a one-way ticketing system going to be passed. So log in. Well, I've been recording the whole time. That was a long stretch of the YouTube video that's just sitting there talking about, hey, it's cool info. Well, let's go check out our site here. So we've rebooted. Close the VMware Appliance Management Browser tab and the vSphere tab. Refresh the screen periodically until the vSphere client login page appears. So we've done that. We need to look at any of the lecture. Roles and permissions. Maybe. Lesson 5 covers roles and permissions. So we have a role-based access control list versus mandatory or discretionary access control that Windows uses. A little bit different. Groups are, role is really close. You're going to think of a group when you see a role, but it's different. You don't really go through and, in Windows, you can take a user account and give it rights to a folder. You can take a group and give it rights to a folder and put a whole bunch of people in that group. Role-based is a little bit different. You apply a user and a role to a particular item. The role is carrying the permissions that's allowed. So the combination of the user and role, it gives the rights to the object. It's pretty similar, but it's logically processed different by the CPU. Server permissions. Here's a picture of it. You have all of these privileges. These privileges are like read, create, things like that. And they're applied to the role. In Windows, you take a group, you attach it to a folder, and then you attach privileges to that folder, to that group. You're not putting read and write to a group. So In Windows, you can have the same group on multiple folders and each one have different privileges. Role-based, the role carries the read, write, create, whatever. And as you apply that to different objects and apply users to that role, they get the privileges of that role to the object. So there would not be a difference in privileges. So the same role and multiple objects are all going to have that same privilege. You can't say the administrator role has these rights to this folder and the administrator role has only read only to this other folder. It doesn't work that way. Administrator role has all privileges. So everywhere you attach it to, they get all privileges. You can't limit. Windows, you can. You can give the administrator read only to a folder, administrators group. So that's how roles and in groups are different. So object, any icon that you see in your environment, that's an object. That's an object. That's an object. That one's an object. That folder there is an object. Like you've created lab folders. That's something you can attach permission to. So anything that you click on in this left part over here is an object that you can assign permissions, roles, and permissions to. So that's what they mean by object. User group, that would be a Windows, normally a Windows Active Directory account or Windows Active Directory group, global group. So you got the object and you attach the user and role to that object or group. But notice, I'm not attaching any privileges to this user or group right here. I'm assigning it to this object and then I'm assigning a role. And that's how they get rights. As with anything, there are predefined roles into the system. That already are assigned to different accounts, different users and groups into the system. So we got to go in and add the identity source so we can use that ESX admins group to give our admin A1A rights to everything. That's our process right now that we got to go into. Let's go look at it. Click on your vCenter server. Under host and clusters view, menu host and clusters view, vCenter server permissions. There are Linux kernel. Well, no, these aren't local. These are vSphere, the vSphere domain that we created. There are user accounts and groups in there that have been applied to the VC5, this object right here, and they've been applied different roles. Administrator at vSphere.local is a member of this group. Here's the administrator at vSphere local account. Here's the group. So both the local account and the group's been given the administrator role to the vCenter server, and it's a global permission. It'll propagate down to everything unless you specify another permission. Then it stops from that point. Becomes an explicit permission automatically. There's no inheritance button you have to click. It's when you sign a different role down below, it overrides permissions that are coming from above. This administrator account is also a member of some of these other groups here. Probably that one, that one. And I'm not sure what, probably that one and that one. We need to have, notice I don't see any Active Directory in here at this time. There's no admin 1A, there's no ESX admins group, there's no csnt.edu. We're going to put the ESX admins from Active Directory into the administrators group, and some of these other groups, we're going to check each one, figure out where this administrator at vSphere.local is a member of, and put the ESX admins group in all of those same local groups. That way our admin account is going to have the same privileges. We don't have to log in and remember this separate password, this non-Windows group. We can now just keep that in documentation for emergency purposes when all hell breaks loose and the Active Directory domain's down and you gotta log in, domain trust got broke, something went haywire, and you have to log in emergency wise. There's going to be a lot of work. So A and B students will be able to do this. We're going to have A students start like at the top of the list and B students start at the bottom of the list, and all this work to meet in the middle. Let's start with A student though. Go into administration. Well, A and B, go ahead and go into administration. A student is going to add csnt.edu as an identity source. That'll create the trust relationship. That'll allow B student to be able to see the Active Directory. So A student, click on configuration for single sign-on. Thinking we may not have to, this version may automatically. Yeah, identity sources. Go ahead and click add student A. And it probably comes up with csnt.edu. An Active Directory integrated Windows authentication already pre-selected. And you just click OK. Really complicated. Told you it was complicated. Knowing you have to do that, it's complicated. I'm gonna grab somebody in group 5. You better hit OK. So as I refresh, somebody in group 5 finally clicked OK. So we have csnt.edu as an identity source. Now we can see all of the user accounts in our Active Directory domain. Sweet. Click on local accounts. Student B, I want you to fix the password expiration on local accounts. Go ahead and edit. Password must be changed every 0 days. And click save. That disables the password expiration. Student A needs to be, go ahead and click on local accounts 2 and refresh the screen to make sure your partner gets it complete. I think I did, well, I did it for 5. I meant for one of y'all to do it. Oops, oh well. It'll work. 5's done. We need to go verify the existing accounts don't still have that applied to them directly. They probably do. We just now changed it for new stuff. Let's go check users and groups, everybody. Under single sign-on, click users and groups. Let's check the root. There's strangely, I didn't have the ability to edit that one. I may have to log in as root and do that. They've changed where this, I think it's here though. One point in time, we had to log into the 5480 site to change it. Well, the root account's local to the machine, so go ahead and go to vsphere.local and check on the vSphere administrator. We do have rights to edit it. And I don't see a password expiration on it. I guess 7.0 kept everything here. Single sign-on password expiration, lockout policy. I think root is still going to be a problem. We'll log in as root in a little bit. Well, somebody said student B is doing this, right? Think so? Maybe. Go ahead and log out student B. Let's log in as root into the system. Remember, it's got the bang at the end. So we can't. Maybe because the password's already expired. That could definitely be a problem. Probably is. Probably why we're locked out. We may have an interesting problem on our hand. The OS root could be locked out at this time, but we'll see. Let's go ahead and continue on and give Active Directory rights into the network. So log back in as administrator at vsphere.local. It doesn't say it's locked yet, but the password expired. That could still be an issue. If I go to csnt.edu, I've got 11 pages of user accounts. We're really not concerned about this page. We're concerned about groups. There's 3 pages of this, which has had students confused in the past. So A and B, A student, why don't you start at the top on page 1? B student, down in the lower left corner, it says 1 of 10 users. Go ahead and click until you get to the last page. You should see two groups on there. So why don't you start at the bottom and work your way up halfway through page 2. And then A will start at page 1 and work their way down and go halfway through page 2. We're going to check each one of these by clicking the hamburger button. That's what they call these, even though they're really squished hamburger. Inflation, they made them smaller, so it's still cost the same as it did in 2019. Yes, that's a jab at inflation. We're going to edit group. If you see administrator in that list, you need to add the ESX admins to that list. So I'm not going to do this for B. I'm going to let B do this. We're going to hit csnt.edu. If you don't see administrator, you just cancel, go to the next group. If administrator's there, then our ESX admins need to be added in. I'm not going to save that because I'm going to let whoever's in group 5, student B, do that process. If you don't see administrator, then you may see other groups in there. If nothing's in there, then move on. If something other than administrator is in there, then move on. But if you see administrator in there, add ESX admins from the csnt.edu. So I see student B has done that. I've got administrator and ESX admins in there. But if I check some of these other groups, like, let me check this one. So yeah, that group 2 would need to be fixed. So if you come to a group like this one right here, this one only has workload storage management, blah, whatever in there. It doesn't have administrator in there. I'm going to leave that one alone and would hit cancel and move to the next one. And this one has nothing. I would cancel and move to the next one. Once this is complete, this will now give us the single sign-on ability. Maybe not. Nope. No, I was all the way at users. I was users all the way at the very end. Like I said, there's 3 pages of this. So y'all meet in the middle. Where's the middle group? It looks like auto updates. I guess probably student B should probably get the auto update and stop. Student A should go through page 1 and down to service providers and stop. That's probably a good split, sort of. I think A still has more to look through. Oh well. Make them work harder. Still get paid the same. Yep. Once your partner says they're done and you tell them that you're done, you should be able to log in with just a checkbox. So I've logged out and I'm hoping group 5 is about got their groups fixed. And I'm going to try to log in with just hitting a little check. If you're at this page and you've got a bar down at the bottom of the browser window saying you need to download the driver, you'll need to download and install that. And then I can log in with a single click. Yes.
always have.
Don't always have click, always allow. Yeah, if it pops up and there's a checkbox, always ask, you want to think uncheck it and click always allow. If that pops in. Because if you don't do that, then launching the remote console and other tools will time out and have issues if you don't always. Something else that would mess up, let me see, if I'm going to access a virtual machine here, remote console, always, but the main one, always trust certificate, connect anyway. Do that pretty quick because it gives you 30 seconds or so, and then it invalidates that dialog box. Looks like he needs to reboot. Yeah. You get a production environment where they got their own certificate authority signing server for a data center. And then you might need to look at installing your own company certificates. Some companies push certificates through Active Directory. And you have to apply the certificates, request certificates and apply them to third-party utilities. Then you stop getting certificate errors.
What?
So this is a much easier process than in the past. The only new quirk is having to go to the groups and adding in the Active Directory group, preferably ESX admins, because your ESX host automatically find that group in Active Directory and give full rights. We didn't have, remember when we joined the domain with ESX, we didn't have to do any, we just logged straight in and had full control. So it's automatic for certain VMware products that ESX space admins group in Active Directory, if you join it, it auto adds that full administrative privileges for the product. vCenter servers was a different breed. We had to do the manual process and manually add ESX admins to those groups that administrator at vSphere.local had rights to. That I think is cumbersome. I think they should make it automatic like to do the other products, but they don't.
Download the authentication plugin.
Try a different browser if you've installed it and you should close the browser out and restarted the browser. Try like Firefox and see if it'll work. So I've run into these before, little quirks. It should, does not give you the checkbox there. And you've installed it. Okay, here's something else that could be a problem. So Kobe's got a common issue with VMware's had in the past. I'm going to make sure that I don't see any Chrome or Firefox I don't see Chrome. There's Google Crash Handlers. I don't know why there's two of them there. But I'm going to end anything that's dealing with Google Chrome and Firefox. Here's an installer that looks like it's stuck. Why is that running? This installer probably needs killed. MSI.exe is an installer, which means that it didn't finalize whatever was going on with the installation of that plugin. So this was troubleshooting. Check all the services, a bunch of SVC hosts. Here's a VMware plugin already running, which should be, so I'm going to kill that. There's another VMware. I'm going to kill that one. So all of those systems are killed with VMware, Firefox, and Chrome on their system. Now, launching PowerShell with admin. I've also had to do this with the user account control. Did not work properly with VMware products, but this was 5.0 that I've run into this. But it seems like it's carried over in some of the later versions. With this downloaded, I'm going to grab the latest one and drag it in and drop it. Is it in there? Did that not do? Why did that not go? Well, which admin are you? So manually going in, I'm going to delete these other two old ones. Take that one off there. So launching it from a PowerShell admin where you had to hit the user account control dialog box and manually installing it this way, I've seen has helped with some installations where that it just doesn't work when you install. VMware is not the only product that I've run into where I've had to drop to PowerShell admin to install stuff from. I've seen some other applications where I've done this and it's installed better. Probably should have read that. I don't know what it said. Okay, so that's installed now. That's my troubleshooting steps. Not saying it's going to still work. I may should have removed it from here first. This, I think, should be uninstalled. I'm going to leave it there, though. EC6. Always trust. Open. Okay. Uncheck. Allow. I don't know what step works. Killing all of those processes and running it from PowerShell. One of those steps works. Kind of shotgun approach, like I know that one of these things is probably going to help. So cool. Anybody else having that issue? Everybody else log in good? So I'm logged in as admin. I'm gonna go check something out. Can't edit root. Can't log into root. No. Exclamation point. Root logs in. That's another place to change it. We'll fix that in a little while. We've added the identity source. And that was all that the lab had us do. That's why I kind of ignored the lab, because it didn't have us go in and add ESX admins to those groups. They omitted a very important part of being able to log in and control the system with a Windows credentials. Rick.
I'm still having trouble finding the login using the Windows. That's not complicated. It's right out for me.
So guys, click remember this choice and open link. Make sure it's highlighted, or
I've done it highlighted, I've done not highlighted. I've done this outside of the
so here may be the same thing. Close everything out. It's running on the machine, and then launch your task manager. You still have Google Chrome running. And you have two other things down there. Make sure everything is closed out and run task manager. Details, go to details tab over there. So you scroll through, look for anything with Google. You got a couple of Googles up there, kill those. Anything with Firefox or Chrome, or Google, and then go to the bottom, look for anywhere with VMware. We got 3 VMwares, kill those. And make sure there's not an MSI installer running. Scroll up and see MSI, no, so no MSI installer. So go ahead and close that out and do the same thing, right click and open the PowerShell admin window. And then do CD space /user, hit tab, and then type your admin, hit tab until you get to the right one you're in, and then download DO and hit tab. Yep, enter. LS, make sure the installer's in there. Yep, just type in V and tab. And enter. And okay. I guess remove it. Okay, then go run the installer again. You have to go to your users admin downloads folder. Change directory into that. and then run the installer file. Google Chrome isn't your default. Why don't you click set default there? Get Internet Explorer off of there as default. That sometimes can also cause some issues. Now try your vCenter. Make sure you do the VC8. Yeah. Then always, check the always up there. And then hit the checkbox. Log in and uncheck that checkbox there, click allow. So that's what it was, killing all those processes and installing from PowerShell command prompt. I don't know that it's required for PowerShell, but I want to take a chance because I've had to do that before. And it was in their knowledge base articles for older client plugins that you had to install it through the PowerShell command prompt. Because the UAC, there's like 2 components with it, and one component did UAC, but the second one didn't, and the driver never registered with Windows. There's another, the VMware Remote Console download is another executable that I usually install. Put in the downloads folder, install it from a PowerShell admin. I normally try it first, just see if it'll run with no problems, because they seem to fix things. If I have issues, I uninstall everything, install things from PowerShell admin. Anybody else having trouble now? You're on computer 15. Mm-hmm. So PowerShell admin, and then your CD space / user, and then user tab key, and then tap admin and tab until you get to your user account, and then tap in down and hit tab and hit enter. Tap LS to make sure you see the installer in there. I don't see the installer. Okay, so launch Chrome. And go to your VC. Down there, it says download enhanced authentication plugin. Try it again. Flashing. That is weird. Go to your X Drive, File Explorer. And go into the VMRC folder on X Drive, copy that VMware Enhanced Authentication plugin and put it in your downloads. Expand, yeah, let me look, see. Okay. Yeah, the 6.7. Yep, copy that one and put it in downloads. And then go to your close Chrome out. And then go to your PowerShell. And then just type VM and use your tab key to. Yep, now hit enter. Just continue the installer. Okay. Yours had extra stuff to install. Okay. Now go try Chrome. And check always allow there and open. Now you got the checkbox. And then uncheck uncheck that box. Click allow. Yep, you're set. That's a good process to see. That's one of the reasons that VMware wants you to be in class, because there's not really a study guide that can help you through quirks like that. Other than just really cool in this type of academic setting, somebody's going to have a mistake, issues, and everybody can see how to fix. Good, we had 3 of them to do. Seen that process a couple of times. Maybe you'll remember there's something about that if you see this on the job. And it's not just with vSphere that I've run into that problem. Some installers install multiple components, and that the UAC prompt sometimes only go for that first component, and the second component that tries to install. Sometimes you don't know, it may work on one feature set of Windows 10, and the next feature set it will break. Microsoft breaks stuff all the time with patches. You never know what you're going to have to do, typically. That's why they pay you money to be able to troubleshoot and realize that, hey, I've had to do this in the past. Maybe it's broke again. Microsoft fixed it 2 years ago, but they implement the same bugs later. It's definitely been on Bleeping Computer that Microsoft's latest patch opened up the security hole that they fixed 2 years ago. They depatched the system. So I hope just being able to hit the checkbox and see where that could be easier, especially if you have a large set of IT personnel managing a large data center. They don't have to remember administrator at vSphere.local. There's also a major problem with that, in that all of the logs are going to show up as administrator at vSphere.local. So who went in and made a configuration change? If you have 10 IT staff members, who did it if you're all using the same thing? So here you have Active Directory, and your best practice for Active Directory is to have an admin account and a regular account. Here on campus, our admin accounts are A_ and our unprivileged username, and then our regular user account is just our user account. I thought that was a good implementation. Some of it's being required by the state or federal government, principles of least privilege and separating out. So even though it's been pushed out and taught for years and years, some government agencies just don't hire the brightest people at times, or they don't implement the best practice. They don't follow suit. Like, oh, it's easier. I'll just run admin all the time. And then they start like, we're going to come out and audit you. You better be doing all this stuff that they've been teaching for 25 years for security. Does anybody have any questions on what we've done today? I really think we need to fix the root account. will be a lab I want you to do. We'll have to cover this. I don't think I want to cover permissions today. I think I want to focus on this next week. Because we're still working on 4 and 5 into next week. There's only 10 chapters, so we got still, even though we missed one day, we still got plenty of time to cover everything, the curriculum, and then play a little bit at the end. But I want to cover, somebody make a note that we're on page 227. Dustin. You make note of that. And Robert, in case Dustin is out. What just went through my head is a safety briefing that I was told, don't yell, somebody call an ambulance. Yell a person's name to call an ambulance. Because you might end up with nobody calling the ambulance because the group of people think somebody else in the group is going to call the ambulance. I'm going to call out names. Then, as I said, somebody record this down, like, yeah, the whole group, nobody's going to do it. Always learning. I want to fix the root account. And go ahead and log out of your vCenter server. There's 2 websites. There's one to manage the appliance itself, the Photon Linux distribution. And then there's the other website that manages the vSphere environment, the ESXi host, the virtual machines, the single sign-on information, the licensing and stuff. We need to fix that root account, and that's local, the Photon OS, the local account. And that site, manage backing up the appliance, get rid of all of that junk, shift end on the keyboard will take it to the end and delete all that crap, is on a different ports. It is HTTPS, so you have to type HTTPS because it's not port 443. This is any site that's running HTTPS, it's not port 443. You have to type in the first part of the URL, otherwise you're not going to make a connection. And it's colon 5480. I don't know where they come up with that number. I understand 80 probably correlates to web. I don't know where 54 come from. But that's what it is. It tells you when you installed it. Anytime you're installing stuff, you can probably write down all like, hey, you can access this at this address, and you can access the appliance login at this address. You probably write that important info down. The login looks almost identical, except it says VMware vCenter Server Management. That's a little bit different. We can log in here with the root account and pass 1, 2, 3, 4, bang. I believe we could also log in with our administrator account, possibly, maybe. Administrator, I'd have to play with that and verify again. Logging as root. Let's do student A. Go down to administration on the left side and kill that password expiration policy. Right now, passwords expire in 90 days. You can edit and turn that off and probably set the password validity to 0. I'll probably do both. Set no, it may gray it out if you set no. Yeah, it does. And I don't know if I have to actually hit reload or if I can just click through these and see. I'm on 5. Who's B in your group, Kobe? Is that Caden? Okay. You see it, Caden? Yeah, yours is set to, I'm gonna hit refresh apparently. I see it on your screen saying no. Why don't I see it on my screen? There we go. Just had to refresh. Took a while. I was looking here going, why don't I should see that too? Wait, that's 8. 5. I'm on 5. I'm somebody completely different. Never mind. That was Brian Henry's group. I can't keep track of which one I'm trying to log in. So it's set to no. Everybody get there set to no. That's the root account. Looked like it was May 1st, 2022. So that, well, might have caused us some problems when we got close to finals. You don't want problems during finals. So. If you don't do that, you end up with crap like this going on. So, told y'all to read that earlier. Not that that really happened or anything. I just really specific details here. But admin's still at First Electric. I don't blame them for moving and getting paid more. What you're supposed to do, move up in the world. We have a really awesome admin now who graduated from the program that could easily be getting 6 figures, but they like working here, so we're really being lucky. Be good to those people that work cheap and that are like 6-figure salaried people. So in this screen, you can back the system up, which we will actually do. Backing up through an SFTP system is good. We're not going to do that now. You can check and update the appliance with all of these service packs and updates. The vCenter server is probably the easiest, least impactful system to put patches and reboot because it doesn't affect the ESXi host or the running virtual machines in your company. So at some point in time, probably towards the end of the semester, we'll talk about Lifecycle Manager, how that it manages the virtual machines and ESXi host, and how that this is a separate. It'd be nice if they could merge it all into one, where Lifecycle Manager could update this vCenter server appliance, all the other cool appliances you can download from VMware plus the ESXi host. But at this point in time, Lifecycle Manager does all the other VMware appliances except the vCenter server. It's got its own update. I guess I'm not a coder, so I'm not smart enough to fix it for them. Otherwise, I might. Probably get a job with VMware. Paid a lot of money if I could do that. So you can see all the services. We'll check the startup type. We'll see all the automatic and healthy. That's a good sign. And if you're having trouble logging in, weird quirky stuff happening, going into this page, sorting by services, seeing if all the automatics are healthy is a good thing to look at. I've seen a lot of systems where services didn't start properly, maybe because the system tried to start before the DNS server was up and going, which would cause the services to fail. Either manually start them or restart the whole node and see if it comes up again. That's a common problem. Check the appliance memory, CPU utilization, disk utilization, see if anything's filling up. These logs. I've seen the log partition fill up and cause problems too. After you run for a long period of time, some actual maintenance of logs sometimes has to be done. I'm pretty familiar with the Linux command line, so I've jumped in manually and did echo greater than to the log file just to blank out the files, especially when the logs are 9 gig, 15 gig in size. All of a sudden, whoop, make it 0. There are 16 hard disks here. I've noticed as the versions go up, they start attaching all the folders into a different hard disk. So a single folder filling up doesn't crash the system. If everything was just had roots and your logs filled up the whole entire root system, it also contains, the vswap and everything else, sometimes you get a kernel panic. The system freezes. No room left on the hard drive. That's bad. Everybody got green checks on summary? I think this is the quickest and healthiest I've seen the vCenter servers running. So thank the IT department for the donation. We're able to separate these across 2 servers. Before, I had just my ESX10. So we'd run 10 of these on one system. It had 150 gig of RAM, but still kind of cutting it close. And it was going out one network adapter. So now we're spread across 2 machines. So they got access to 2 separate servers, 2 separate. I think the network speed was the biggest issue. No students went and bought me 10 gig switches and fiber cable and all that yet. Let's go ahead and log out. I think we've accomplished everything I wanted to go over today. Wasn't a terrible lot. We added an identity source, added ESXi to the groups that vSphere local administrator at vSphere local was a member of. Went into the appliance management website and killed the password expiration. Yeah, we also killed the password expiration under the local. That's all we needed under root. We can't log into the one without the colon 5480. So if you don't have colon 5480, Roots doesn't have access to that. Only the vSphere account and our Active Directory accounts. So that web page is using a different application. It's got its own, it only recognizes the identity sources. It doesn't recognize the local OS identity source. When we logged in, that's why root was grayed out. Those are letting us know that they're only controlled under the 5480 login. Completely different process. It's a web page connecting to a different program on that Photon Linux distribution. So I hope y'all had fun. Y'all can remote in and poke around and look. read through the chapter on permissions. That'd be helpful when we talk about it on Tuesday. There should also be a lab for it too. Okay, I'll see y'all. I'm gonna stop the recording. Sorry for the very long YouTube recording with all the long breaks.